We were honored to have Dr. Ron Paul on our show last year. He said the CIA killed your uncle. Do you think so?
Yeah.
Why?
Why do I think that?
No. Like, why did they? Why would? I mean, I think.
I mean, it's pretty well documented.
Yeah. I just mean to open up the conversation.
What I would say is, if you have, there's 100 books about my uncle's assassination. The best book, which is an extraordinary distillation of probably 1 million pages of documents, and also the many confessions of people who were involved in the murder. I mean, the CIA is still blocking the release of documents, not only in the murder but in the cover-up. But the best book is a book called The Unspeakable by James Douglas, and it's a riveting book, but it's also he's a scholar, and it's an extraordinarily well-documented history. And are you asking why they killed him?
Yeah.
The group that killed him was a group from the Miami station, and they were angry at him, beginning with his failure to overthrow Castro. And they were angry with him because he was pulling out of Vietnam. He had signed an executive order bringing all troops home from Vietnam by the beginning of '65.
What, this was related to Operation Northwoods?
No, Operation Northwoods was another thing that, this is all part of his battle with his military-industrial complex. But after the Bay of Pigs, he fired the head of the CIA, Allen Dulles. But Allen Dulles did not stop being involved with the governance of the agency after that. And then when my uncle was killed, Allen Dulles got himself put on the Warren Commission. And in fact, he was running the Warren Commission and steered all the Warren Commission investigation away from the CIA. And then either way, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is when Congress investigated, the House Select Committee on Assassinations investigated my uncle's death 10 years later. They said, yeah, it was a conspiracy. And most of the people, all but the senior counsel at that time, Bob Blakey, all the junior counsels believed that it was the CIA, and particularly this group, E. Howard Hunt, David Atlee Phillips, Bill Harvey, who ran the Miami station, and David Morales, and then operating with mobsters were Sam Giancana, who were from the Chicago outfit, Santos Traficante, who ran the Tampa and family, and then Carlos Marcello, who ran Dallas and New Orleans, and my father prosecuted all of them when my uncle was president. They all had casinos in Havana, and they were working hand in hand with the CIA on the assassination of Castro. So they were people who were, they were partners with the CIA and trying to murder Castro. And part of this, the program is called Alpha 66.
Was that in any way related to the story of the film Casino? You're familiar? Where the crooked mobsters in Chicago?
A lot of the mobster who was the liaison between the CIA and Bill Harvey was the guy who was directing this program, and the mob who got the three families involved. His name was Johnny Roselli. And when he was subpoenaed by the committee, by the House Select Assassination Committee, he was subpoenaed once he testified, but then they brought summons him back to testify. And he was murdered on his way to testify, and he was cut up into small pieces and then put in a 55-gallon oil drum and was found floating 2 days later in Biscayne Bay in Miami. And at the same time, Sam Giancana, who was the head of the very, very powerful mobster who my father had prosecuted, and who I actually sat in a hearing room when I was 5 years old, and watched him take the fifth, I think 127 times, while my father was interrogating about a month before my uncle became president. my father was ridiculing him and saying, "You're laughing like a little girl. You're giggling like a little girl." So they hated each other.
Wow.
And Giancana, who was, also involved in the assassination, he was also subpoenaed by the committee, and he was murdered just before he was supposed to appear. He was executed in his basement.
But the good news is that the CIA has since been reformed, and these bad apples.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were held accountable for,
We can trust the government now.
you know,